Good morning and welcome to another vlog. So it's been about 10 days since I last spoke to you and I've really missed you and I'm glad to be back. And it was a good time to take a break because I have actually been doing some recording. I've been recording a skin tints comparison video which will be coming out next Sunday, and that's been taking me 5 days to record because I wanted to do an all-day wear test. So really looking forward to releasing that and hope that you find it helpful. It's almost exactly a year since I ranked 8 skin tints, and actually I was looking back at the video yesterday. If you're new to my channel or new since last April, you will get somewhat of a shock when you see what I looked like a year ago, because I had much darker hair and I still had a fringe and it was quite short as well. So I don't think it was my best look. But I've got a new set of skin tints for this video and I hope you enjoy it. Anyway, let me tell you what I've been up to. So the first thing I'm going to show you shortly is some footage that I took in Harrods because I went to Knightsbridge. Now, why did I go to Knightsbridge? Well, I was going to go to Harrods anyway at some point. I've been threatening to do that for ages and I hadn't actually been to Harrods. Do you know, I think it's actually 11 years since I went to Harrods. It's that long ago. So I thought I would film some footage in there, and I was going to film some footage in Harvey Nichols, but unfortunately I just entered and was just about to do the ground floor when this woman came rushing up to me and said I wasn't allowed to. I only had my phone. So I haven't got any footage of Harvey Nichols, I'm afraid, even though I'm sure I could have done it upstairs and no one would have noticed. But I will tell you a bit about it in a moment. So I'm going to show you footage of Harrods, but the reason I was in Knightsbridge is because I had wanted to explore having some Botox. Yes, I know. And the reason is partly because I do find that in photos, I don't really notice it in real life, that here on the bridge of my nose, not so much these lines here, but the sort of, I suppose, the 11s and then the sort of bunching, which I've now found out is called bunny lines. How attractive is that? So my bunny lines and my 11s and a bit of my crow's feet, but not so much my crow's feet. This particular area has really been bugging me, and I happened to watch an interview with Nadine Baggott, who's the British beauty journalist who I absolutely trust implicitly, had talked about having Botox twice a year at a particular clinic. Now, she's such a sweetie because I DM'd her to ask her which clinic it was and she gave me the details. And if you're interested, do email me, and my email address is in the description box below the video. So if you want to find out which clinic it is, email me and I will tell you. It's in London, in Knightsbridge. I made an appointment to go and see them, and it was a really interesting appointment. I didn't have any Botox on the day. I could have done, but I didn't because I need to go away and think about it. And one of the reasons is that I told the doctor that I saw about my experience of Botox about 11 years ago when I went to a clinic in Harley Street, and I was so disappointed. I thought it was awful because I'd been to see the doctor, the dermatologist, and had a consultation, and then I went back for the appointment, and at the consultation, of course, everything's lovely and nice as pie and it's all fab. And then when I went back, it was like being on a conveyor belt. In fact, there were women in the waiting room sitting there holding their faces with blood on their Kleenexes, and I mean it was all very odd. I didn't like it at all. But anyway, had the Botox, and what I remember of having it anyway was I ended up with a little bump here. So I told this to the dermatologist at the clinic in Knightsbridge, and she said that was quite unusual. She'd not heard about it, so she recommended that I have a couple of smaller treatments rather than one big one. It was better to have 2 spaced out, so within a couple of weeks of each other. And also she explained that they don't last that long. This particular area that I was concerned about maybe only lasts 3 months, so you might have to have it every 3 months rather than every 6 months like Nadine does, because maybe she's not so bothered about these lines here. So it does depend on, of course, your own particular skin and your particular requirements. So it's quite an investment, and I don't think it's an investment that I'm prepared to make at the moment, but I really enjoyed the appointment. You do have to pay for the appointment, but the fee is redeemable against any treatment that you have. So I decided not to have it on the day. I wanted to go away and think about it, and I've decided at the moment anyway, I'm probably not going to do that because I need to put my investments elsewhere, my teeth, for example, and it's an investment I'm not prepared to make at the moment, but I'm very glad I did go. So now let me run the footage that I took in Harrods. So Harrods then, it is an interesting store. As you will have seen, there's a lot of Egyptian influence, which of course is down to the fact that it was owned for many years by Mohammed Al-Fayed. I'm not going to talk about all the business that's going on with him at the moment, but if you're in the UK, you will know. If you're not in the UK, you might not know, but I would say we could call him the disgraced Mohammed Al-Fayed. That's all I'm going to say at this point. So I'm glad I went, but it's not a store I'd rush back to. I find it too big. I find it quite siloed. I can't think of a better word than that. But a lot of the beauty hall is in sections. So there's a little section for Hourglass, there's a little section for Dolce & Gabbana and all the other expensive brands. There is a bigger area that has some other brands. I think they're more skincare. But I didn't particularly enjoy it. It seemed very compartmentalised, as did the designer floor. Not that I'd be buying anything in the designer floor, but that's all compartmentalised as well. The fourth floor, where they have the denim and the sort of lower price brands, the M&M's and the Zadig and Voltaire and those sort of brands, they're on the fourth floor. And that's more open plan, but it just wasn't very exciting. I didn't find it particularly attractive. It is a beautiful store in that it's really well looked after. There's no nook and cranny that doesn't look like it's been cleaned and polished and looked after to the nth degree. It really is a luxury store in that sense. But it didn't really have anything to excite me apart from the food hall. Actually, the food hall was amazing. And I was saying to my husband, we must go to that place downstairs that looks a bit like a New York deli. It looked fantastic. So the food hall, great. The rest of it, not so impressed. Then Harvey Nicks, which I have to say, I was very bored by. It looked exactly the same as it did last time I went. Maybe it's been spruced up a bit, but I thought it was supposed to have had an overhaul, but I just don't really know why you'd go there. In a way, maybe it's a bit like a smaller version of Harrods, but even maybe not that. Not that impressed, really, no. Whereas, and I won't show the footage today, but I have got some footage of Liberty's, and I'll show that in another vlog. And Liberty's and Selfridges are definitely more my stores. So Selfridges is huge, but I think it's much more quirky. It's got more of a vibe. It's got a bit of a personality, and it always has some interesting things going on. So even if you're not going to buy anything, even if you just want to go for a coffee or just to gawp at things, I think it's a great store. I really do. And I'm very fond of Selfridges. And I am of Liberty's. Again, I don't often buy anything in there, but it's got its own personality. I think that's the thing about Selfridges and Liberty's. They have a personality. And I suppose you could say that about Harrods, but it's just not my kind of personality. Harrods is not my vibe. Selfridges and Liberty's definitely are. So what I'm going to do today is I'm about to put some makeup on. And by the way, you will have noticed I've straightened my hair again. I left it curly on Friday and it just looked like a bird's nest. I really didn't think it was looking that great, so I thought I would straighten it again today. It's a work in progress, and the nice thing is I can ring the changes, so that's fine. But what I am going to do, I'm going to the hairdressers. When am I going? Not next week, the week after. And I'm just going to have a trim, but he's also going to do the colour. And I'm going to go with my hair au naturel because he's never seen it like that before, and ask him if I am going to leave it au naturel, what products I might be able to use on it. Because I've tried oil and I've tried cream and I just haven't really got on with it. I haven't worked out how to use it, so he might be able to show me that. Now today I'm going to see my children this afternoon, which I'm really looking forward to. But before that, I think it's only about 8 o'clock. I'm going to put some makeup on. Well, that was a very abrupt ending. Apologies for that. I was going to do my makeup on camera, but in the end I didn't. And also there was a change of plan and I went to see my kids in the morning. So I went about 11:30 and got back about 2:30 and I was absolutely exhausted. I had a bite to eat and did my usual, as I call it, lunch and loll. So my lunch followed by my loll, and I didn't wake up till about 4:30. So I think I must have had a good half hour to 3/4 of an hour's sleep, because I am still a bit sleep deprived. I'm still not sleeping past 5 in the morning, maybe 5:30 if I'm lucky, and going to bed at 11, so it's not brilliant. However, it's all fine, and I feel maybe not refreshed quite, but I certainly feel more sparky than I did a few hours ago. And it was lovely to see my kids, because obviously if I move, I'm not going to be able to pop up the road in half an hour and see them. So I was just kind of thinking about that. But anyway, I'll cross that bridge when we get to it. I will be coming to London, of course I will. And luckily when I went round, my grandson was there as well, so I saw him. And I don't know if I've told you, but we've booked to go and see Fiddler on the Roof in June. I'm so looking forward to taking him. I've seen the production once on stage with the late Topol, and the film is definitely one of my faves, so really looking forward to that. But let me tell you what I've been up to this week, and I'm just going to show you a couple of things I've bought. So earlier this week on Monday, in fact, I had dinner with an old friend who lives locally, and she wears the most fabulous clothes, and she just wears them with ease, and they're very unusual, and most of the time I don't think I could wear those sort of clothes. However, because I'm still on the hunt, because I haven't decided yet what I'm going to wear to the wedding, despite all the try-ons I had a couple of weeks ago, and thank you so much for your input, by the way. As you know, I value it, I ask for it, and I was really delighted with all the responses I had. I still haven't made up my mind yet. So I said to her, have you got any recommendations? And she said, why don't you come round to mine and we'll try on a few bits and bobs of mine and see whether any of them work, and you could borrow something. So I thought, well, I'm not going to turn that down. However, I'm not 100% sure I'm going to fit into them. That'll be the first thing, because she is petite and she's also, I think, much more small-waisted than I am. But anyway, we're going to give it a go. She offered, and who am I to refuse? I think it's a great suggestion. And even if I can't wear any of the clothes, I might get some ideas on other things I could wear. Sorry, my fringe is interrupting me a bit. And talking about what I'm going to wear to the wedding, I also bought some shoes on Vinted. Look at these beauties. I'm slightly concerned about the heel, because I stupidly When I looked at them, I just thought they were so stylish, and they're beautiful leather. They're from Office. There's no marks on them at all. They look brand new. They cost me about £20. They're probably about £120 originally. They're absolutely gorgeous. And I really like the fact that they weren't too open here. So if I wear the brown linen dress, these would look really nice with a cream pashmina maybe, or cream shawl, and maybe a cream bag, something like that. And I mean, I think because they're so neutral, they'll probably go with anything. So what do you think of them? And the other thing I just wanted to show you on camera, because I haven't really shown it, is the weighted vest. And this is it. So when I put it on, in fact, I'll show you, I'll put it on, I feel like I'm in line of duty because it weighs £5, it weighs 5.4 kilos, which is about, about £11, is that? And, you know, it's been absolutely great. I've used it not only to go for walks in, but I've also worn it around the house when I'm cleaning. And even when I'm sitting at my desk sometimes, it's very, very comfortable. I think it's the same brand as Angie Hot and Flashy's and possibly Tina of Tina's Best Midlife as well, because they're the two channels that I saw using these vests, although I gather lots and lots of people on YouTube have been talking about them. But actually I've seen people here in London in real life, IRL, in my local street going for runs. And even when I was down in town the other day in Liberties, I saw somebody just wandering up and down near Regent Street with one on. And why I say it looks like line of duty, I haven't got my keys up here, but look, there's a little, there are little pouches here, so you can put your phone in here and your keys in there. And then of course you can talk to it, Z Victor 1. And it's really much more comfortable than you would think. And this is, let me see if I can show you the back. Hang on a sec. Let me stand up. Oh, there you are. I think it's a great way to incorporate extra resistance into our movements throughout the day. So very delighted with that. Oh, let's take it off now. So the other thing I did this week was go to the theatre, and I went to see a play called Giant, which is nothing to do with the film with James Dean, which I've never seen actually. To my shame, probably. I'm not sure I've ever seen a James Dean film all the way through. But it is about Roald Dahl and his anti-Semitism. And I was interested partly because I'm Jewish, but also because I wanted to see John Lithgow on stage because I think he's a wonderful actor. Anyway, really enjoyed the play. Very, very pertinent, particularly at the moment with all the hoo-ha around Gary Lineker. We won't go into it on this channel, but those of you who are Brits will probably know about Gary Lineker and the BBC. BBC is getting itself into hot water all over the show at the moment, which is a real shame because the content of the BBC is something to be proud of and is very precious, but unfortunately the management are not great and never have been actually, in fact, in living memory. However, the play was really interesting and very prescient given what had been going on with Gary Lineker. So that's what I've been up to this week. Next week is relatively quiet, although we are going out for dinner on Wednesday, so I'm going to try and be really good because that's the other thing. I haven't been brilliant at my diet this week. I won't tell you what I've lost yet because I don't know. I haven't weighed myself. I haven't wanted to weigh myself. I don't think I've gone up because all my clothes are feeling more comfortable. So I think I've probably stayed the same again. I just need, I know I said this last week or the week before, whenever it was, I just need to make that big effort to lose those last few pounds, which is always tricky, isn't it? So luckily we've only got one dinner out on Wednesday, so I'll try and be good the rest of the time. So I think we'll end it there. Otherwise, as you know, I could ramble on and on. So thank you so much for joining me, and do let me know in the comments whether you've tried a weighted vest or whether you would. Have you been to Harrods? Do you fancy going there and seeing what they've got? If you're coming to London, I know one of my lovely subscribers is coming to London. Maybe this will put you off, or maybe it won't. I don't know. Let me know in the comments. And thank you so much for watching. Don't forget to subscribe if you haven't already. And do give me a thumbs up if you've enjoyed this ramble on. And next Sunday, normal service will be resumed in terms of regular Sunday uploads and Wednesday uploads as well. Thank you for bearing with me during my break. Next Sunday, it's all about skin tints, so I hope that'll be interesting. I've just noticed that my lovely friends Cindy and Tamara have done skin tint roundups, and I'm off to watch theirs and see whether any of mine are in any of theirs. And that's it. And thank you so much for watching. It means the absolute world to me. It really does. And I hope you're all doing really well. And I look forward to seeing you on my next video on Sunday. Bye.